Melis Tirhi. This is Melissa's first year at prep. She came from the Governor's School for Math and Science in Greenville. She enjoys MMA fighting, playing her violin and piano, and she is the new leader of the Computational Linguistics Club here at prep. Her speech is on identity. Melis Tirhi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to start by thanking Dr. Kinkin, who was a great advisor and helped me out in my first year here. I knew nothing about the senior speech. And I have to be honest, I wasn't by any means excited to be giving this speech today, but I was eager to talk about something worth listening to. I'm new to prep this year, and many of you know little to nothing about me, so I wanted to shed a little light onto that. Maybe you don't exactly look at me and see your own reflection, but we're more alike than you would think. At your lowest of lows and at the most glorious of highs, it's inevitable that somebody else somewhere is feeling that too. It's the beauty of being human. We might not want to be, but we're all living the same human experience. Yet, we've all in some miraculous way found our own individuality. We've assumed these dynamic identities that change with our exposure to people, places, ideas, and as we explore more about ourselves. It all seems so effortless to be who you feel you should be, yet an impossible task without first understanding all the facets of our lives and ourselves. Over the course of this past year, I've learned more about myself and who I was and what I wanted and how I viewed life, yet it was as if the more I learned, the more I realized I had no clue who I was, and a part of me didn't want to know either. Looking back to my sophomore year at Beaufort High, I can almost still taste the teen angst. We all wanted to be ourselves, which was absolutely the wrong thing to be, so we were who we thought we should be. The person that we thought people would like, respect, fear, idolize. Yet, it seemed for every right move we made towards popularity, it just turned out to be the wrong one. We weren't just discovering ourselves, but also each other. And I realized, teenagers are unpredictable, horrifying, concupiscent creatures that come just above men going through a midlife crisis on the scale of the most disturbing stages of life. Like everyone, I just wanted to belong. Joining a cult was even an option, but instead I opted for the next best thing, the South Carolina Governor's School for Science and Math. I wasn't completely enamored with the idea of living with what I thought would be 200-something academic crazed overachievers, but it was most definitely a better place than where I was. I never gave much consideration to what it would be like living in the dorms until my first week at the school, when I realized my roommate talked in her sleep, kept the room as hot as a furnace, and would answer calls from her parents at 5 a.m. But I quickly made other friends, and soon enough, I realized what a great decision I had made. The people I met at the Governor's School were unlike any people I'd ever met. They were and are the closest friends I've ever had, and we became like family. The academics were unbelievably rigorous. I remember countless times when we'd stay awake for 2 days at a time, working to finish assignments and study for exams that were designed for failure. Our room made for two soon housed up to 6 people at a time, all of us surviving on a maximum of 4 hours of sleep and caffeine gum, which was distributed like a narcotic throughout the campus. Waiting until the halls were clear, we'd haul the mattresses from the empty handicap rooms into mine, using blankets, pillows, and cushions to create makeshift beds for everyone else. I felt most myself when I was with them. It was the best of times and the worst of times. But I couldn't help thinking that there was something very wrong about all of this. The school wasn't focused in math and science, but rather restricted us to it, cutting off the students from any art programs or activities outside of the school. I kept thinking that maybe I needed time to try and understand what I really wanted before I truly threw myself into this narrow field of study. They were just occasional thoughts, but they carried with me into the summer. I started my internship in the pathology lab at the Medical University of South Carolina, living at the College of Charleston dorms for 6 weeks. It was, of course, a great deal of work, but it had a different momentum than the life at the Governor's School. The walk to the lab was a mile, and most days I worked 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. It was a repetitive schedule. Some days developing film in the darkroom, others dissecting mice, and most using a microscope with more than my car to analyze slides made before I was even born. Nothing unexpected was to happen. There was no growth except in my knowledge of the anatomy of the human cochlea. And although I lived in the school dorms for an entire year, this was different. I could come and go as I pleased, the halls were co-ed, and I had nobody watching over me. There was no current of students in the 5 minutes before class flowing into the academic wing, but instead, just me. I felt like I had committed to something, a promise to this area of study and this lifestyle. It was this eerie freedom and enormity of responsibility that made me feel restricted. I felt like I had made a huge mistake. was as if I had committed to be a certain person and fit a mold I didn't realize was even there. How could I be so sure that this was the life I wanted, that this was the path for me? The times for self-exploration had been torn away. I was still completely uncertain of my own identity. I wasn't ready to make a decision that this was what I wanted for my future, and that this was what I would be for the rest of my life. I felt my life come screeching to a stop. All the friends, knowledge, and memories I was gaining meant nothing because I was leaving behind the most important thing, me. I came to prep to salvage my identity. The freedom to explore arts, academics, and athletics is what I was longing for. Not the participation in all of these activities, but to have the option to partake in them is what makes me feel like I have the right to be whoever I want to be. For now, being able to continue the journey of self-discovery is more fulfilling than finding its end. As Thomas Saz said, people often say that this or that person has not yet found himself, but the self is not something one finds, it is something one creates.